I'm going to take a quick survey of the room. Who's here from a school? Who's here from a healthcare institution? Okay. Anybody else? Contract cleaner. Other facilities. So we have schools and healthcare. Long-term care facilities. Nursing homes. Nursing homes. Hospital. Anybody from a hospital? One hospital? Okay. The reason I'm asking that question is because all three of those different categories of facility all handle this issue of pathogen control and killing germs very differently. Would you agree with that? All right. So, because of that, let's start off. We'll make sure we're all on the same page and we all understand it. Everybody in healthcare can probably do this seminar for me, right? I know. I always defer to people in healthcare when I'm talking about germs for obvious reasons. So, particularly hospitals. There's three different levels of pathogen control: sanitation, disinfection, and sterilization. Do you know the difference between all three? Can somebody answer that question?
The level of heat.
What's that?
The level of heat.
Well, that's one of the ways to get rid of it, but what's the difference between all three of those?
Different levels of treatment.
What's that? Yes.
Different levels of treatment.
Correct. And they're really not that far apart when you really get right down to it. The difference between sanitation, sanitizing a surface, and disinfecting a surface is 0.001%. Really. To have a level of disinfection, you need to kill 99.999% of the germs that you claim you're killing. For sanitizing, it's 99.9%. There is another difference between sanitization and disinfection. Disinfections will usually kill a broader spectrum of germs and bacteria, all right? I'll use a lot of these words interchangeably. Pathogens is kind of a big, broad term for stuff that will hurt you, all right, that we can't see, all right? And that could be a lot of different things, from mold to fungus to, which are obviously, you can see that kind of stuff, to the stuff we can't see, and viruses. Sterilization then is what? That's killing everything. And this gentleman John just talked about using heat. Heat is one of the methods they use to sterilize, all right? That's what they use for sterilize. They use a combination of heat, pressure, and chemicals to sterilize surgical instruments, correct? So sterilizing, you're killing everything. Most of the people in here, in this room, with the exception of the long-term care people, don't need to kill everything. And as you can probably guess, if you do have to kill everything, it takes a lot of time, takes different equipment, different resources, and we're just trying to keep the general public healthy, your students, staff, everybody in the building, including the people cleaning the buildings, right? So now I just want to cover that because that's important that we all understand, and it's important relating to the hospital, for example, needs to kill a much broader spectrum of germs than a school department does, and they should for obvious reasons, all right? Their risks are higher, the costs are higher, and they invest more money in that whole process. They have people that are dedicated, that's all they do. In fact, it's going to tell managers. So let's talk about the general rule of disinfection. Now here's the challenge. I've been in this industry 40 years, and I've seen all sorts of changes take place in those 40 years in terms of this issue of disinfecting. When I started this Scott Paper company back in the 80s, selling disinfected embedded wipers in the late 80s, right? Schools, okay, fine, I've wiped things down every once in a while. That's a pretty cool tool to use if somebody gets a vomit or someone will wipe it. But now, go forward 20 plus years, you have to disinfect everything. Now, I'm not saying you need to go to the same level that a healthcare institution does, or particularly a hospital, but the CDC, this was on my slide, the CDC says you need to disinfect what in your school? You need to disinfect high-touch surfaces. So let's talk about what those are. In the school department, what are the high-touch surfaces? Yes. What else? Doorknobs. Handles. What's that? Telephones. Computer keyboards. We're going to talk about those. Those are unique. The phone, the heater, that kind of stuff is kind of unique. Bathrooms, you know, what the bathroom? What's that? Seats, toilet seats. What else? Yeah, no, go ahead.
Partition doors.
The what?
The partition doors.
The partition doors, yeah. What else?
Walls.
Not necessarily the walls, because we're not touching the walls all the time.
Faucets.
What's that?
Faucets.
Faucet handles, flush handles, stuff like that. Who disinfects the soap dispensers and the push bars on your towel dispensers if they're touched out? Now the technology has changed, and a lot of people are getting away from those. You know, you get hands-free units nowadays. You know, battery-operated soap dispensers. You don't have to touch anything. But if you still have the ones where you have to push a bar or something, okay? So that's what the CDC says that you have to do. Now, 20 years ago, you didn't have to do that. What else has happened in just about all of your facilities, and I don't care whether it's a hospital or school, what else has happened while that need is increased? What's happened to you, guys? You have less people. You have less people to do all this work. You cannot who mentioned desks? Somebody mentioned desks. Desks. Do you guys disinfect your desks every day? Elon is. You do. But everybody's got a different idea. Should you disinfect your desk? Yes. Most schools that I talk to, and I cover all of New York State and New England up to Bangor, Maine. Thank you. I have a lot of voice. Rarely do they disinfect their desks every day, right? They will if there's an outbreak. If the nurse or the principal comes and says, hey, we got a lot of kids here, we need to step up, and you've got to step up your game, right? Anybody in the school department ever had an issue where you had an outbreak big enough where you had to go hire an outside company come in? You've heard about those situations, right? Where kids are getting sick at a rate, and staff are getting sick at a rate higher than normal, and hey, John, you're not doing a good job. Go hire somebody, all right? When you do that, it gets very, very expensive, right? When you hire those companies to come in, those restoration cleaning companies that come in with the high-net suits and the gas masks and use all those strong chemicals, they are not inexpensive. So my mission, and most of my compadres out here on the floor, is to help people clean their buildings better every day, all right? And that's kind of what we're going to theme of this whole program is to show you tools you can use with less staff to clean those high contact areas we all agree you need to clean, and maybe not be doing as good a job as you should, or for a lot of different reasons, all right? Because when people are out, when you have somebody sick in your staff, what do you do? I mean, if there's anything that's taken place since I've been in this business, is the importance of the cleaning staffs, custodial staffs, housekeeping staffs has become much higher in terms of the operation than it did 40 years ago. Right? And we've got some people in the room who've probably been in this industry as long as I have. So, sure, we've seen those changes and those demands on our time. So let's keep the thing about disinfecting. You don't have a lot of time. You have to do a lot more than you did 20 years ago. Thankfully, there are tools being offered by manufacturers like mine and others that allow you to, whether it's an outer scrubber, a younger guy across the way here who's got all these fancy tools for cleaning windows and all that stuff, giving you saving you time. So let's talk about disinfection. What are your options? All right. Listen, I had my slide up here, you can see them, but what are your options? Your options are a spray gun with a disinfectant, and a wiping tool of some sort, a rag, a paper towel, all right? So you did all that. So what's the problem with that kind of a process? There could be some cross-contamination issues, right? But you're not changing your wiper if you're using a cloth product, right? The biggest issue is time. You just don't have time to go spray down and wipe everything. I just had a conversation with somebody in my booth about that. That's what they're doing. Okay. 150 doorknobs in your building, you spray and wipe them every day. You got time that takes. Right? What's the other challenge a lot of times? So let's talk about, so you've got a spray gun, or a quart bottle of sprayer, you've got a wiping tool. I'm going to talk about wiping tools real quick. It's not cut up, but only because I used to run a program for a large national wholesaler where I was doing efficacy studies on disinfectant. And one of the things we discovered during the studies is what kind of wiping medium you use can affect the result in terms of your ability to kill the germs you're trying to kill. It didn't make any difference what kind of chemical you're using. It really had to do with the wiping material. So we did some studies. So you get an option. You get a microfiber cloth, you get a cotton cloth, you've got a paper towel, right? A kitchen type towel, right? Something absorbent. Or it could be the hand wash towel you have in there. All right? Those three mediums, which one does a better job? What's that? No, actually. Paper towel. You're throwing it out. I'm not talking about the cross-contamination issue because that is an issue with any type of reusable unit. Is how often you train your staff to put a new wiper on. Again, healthcare, it's free. You turn them over frequently. And in a school department, somebody may use that wiper from the bathroom to the kitchen to use them to clean it off the desk because they're just not as educated. They just don't think as much. They're not making statements about the general quality of your staff, but it just happens. So the paper towel actually was the better in terms of removing. So just keep that in mind while you use microfiber is really good if you are turning them over frequently enough. Just throwing that out. So that's probably the most time consuming. The second most time, the next, so let's talk about the chemicals. So you get the wiping medium, then you get a chemical. The chemicals that usually are being used today, you have a ready-to-use product, which can be kind of pricey, although they're usually of a high quality because they're engineered better and you're not dealing with the variances of a custodial staff diluting them down to the right level. And by the way, it's the only chemical you will have in your building. If you haven't looked at this on the labels, go back and look at people in the hospitals probably know this very well. Go back and look at your label. It's the only one that says on the label, if you use this, not in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, you are breaking federal law, or something to that effect. It will say that on the label. That's the only chemical of all of them up being shown right here. You will see that. Why is that? Why does it say that on the label? Because people are a lot smarter than you and I design those chemicals. And if your custodial staff think that they're better by doubling the dilution or tripling dilution, they are wrong. In fact, you can actually, you will kill less germs in many cases if you double up the dilution. So ready-to-use products are diluted products. The other problem with diluted products is they have to be mixed and used and then disposed of within 24 hours, with the exception of bleach. Bleach has to be mixed as needed and used immediately because literally within 30 minutes, the efficacy of that bleach, and we all know that's a nasty product, gets reduced. It actually kills less germs. I've talked to people who have bottles of bleach, mixed bleach. All it is nothing in there. It's not going to be killing the germs 24 hours later. All right, so remember that. What's the other trouble with bleach since I brought it up? What's that?
It's hazardous.
Very hazardous. It's a nasty product. The sad thing about it is that people in healthcare know this. They have certain germs that they have to kill, like C. diff in hospitals, that they have to use bleach, right? You're using bleach, right? Bleach and water. And you mix it up as needed for that kind of application and off and running. Or you're using some sort of it's got a chlorinated product, but it doesn't necessarily have to be bleach. Correct me if I say anything that's wrong with what you've been told, because there's one thing I've learned doing this for 40 years is sometimes the people in the audience do things differently than what I'm talking about and trained and researched on. So bring it up if I say anything that's outside of the realm. So bleach, spray and wipe. You've got, I mentioned earlier, Scott Paper Company 25 years ago, I used to sell, and my company does now, a wiper that has disinfectant in it. Okay? Usually those are rayon-based products, they're not cotton. Rayon will not diminish the quality of the disinfection, how it performs. So that's why they're using those non-woven type products as the medium. What's the problem with those products? What are some of the negatives with those types of products?
It's only going to hit the surface where you're wiping.
What's that?
It's only going to hit the surface where you're wiping.
That's true with a lot of these applications, but you're correct. Yeah? What else?
They're expensive.
They're what?
Expensive.
They are expensive, yes, that is a big issue. That is probably the most expensive way to deal with disinfectant. And one of the other problems is, it depends on also how wet you get that wiper, how wet it is in the tub. Whether you're pre-mixing it yourself and putting in the wiper in, and then you're putting enough chemical in, is the wiper getting wet enough? And then we have this nasty, I haven't talked about it yet, which I will now because it'll be a big subject as I go through here, the issue of dwell time, contact time. You know what that means? Like, what does that mean?
How long the stuff sits on the surface.
Right? So the EPA, to be called a disinfectant, says you can't kill, if you're going to list all the chemicals, all the pathogens, all the germs and viruses on a list, has to kill them in less than 10 minutes. All right? To be called a disinfectant. All right? Otherwise, it's rejected. All right? So 10 minutes is the max. So every disinfectant you have has a max of 10 minutes. That doesn't mean it doesn't have something shorter. All right? Because there are a lot of chemicals in the market, bleach being the only true on-contact disinfectant. It literally, there is no dwell time required for bleach. You put it on a surface, the germs dead. Right? So, no contact time. But again, bleach, might stain things, hurt you, add noxious gases to the room, and you're in trouble. So, we've got bleach, spray and wipe, wipers. Right? Those are the most common. That's what we were doing 20 years ago, right? Nowadays, fast forward to probably the last 4 years, the need for germ control and pathogen control has increased. You have less staffs. There's a number of companies in the marketplace that have designed some tools, mine being one of them. It's why I'm doing this seminar. We're talking about some tools you can use to disinfect. Now, one of them is the electrostatic gun, all right? Spray systems. And who has one of those in their building? Nobody here has one. That is really surprising. Are you familiar with it? There's a couple of them being shown here today that you saw talk to those guys. Clorox has one.
I'm not very familiar with them. I've heard
Okay.
of them.
Well, let's talk a little bit, since we're not familiar with them, let's talk about, since nobody has one, let's talk about why they're cool little tools to use, and why they've been somewhat popular in certain areas, particularly healthcare. They literally, you put a disinfectant in, there's there's a number of different disinfectants they use, but you put the disinfectant in the unit and it sprays it, just like when I call it guns, called made by Victor Sprayer. It really charges as a battery, and it charges the sprayness coming out of the nozzle. You go, why would it do that? Does that help the disinfection? No, it doesn't help the disinfectant of the product, the disinfection action of the product. But what it does is, because you now have that stream of liquid charge, it wants to find a negative charge. So that literally when you spray it on a surface, and you mentioned somebody over here, I think you mentioned surfaces which are unusually shaped, have ridges. A common thing in hospitals for using these units is beds and wheelchairs, because there's just so many surfaces to clean. And if you were to do a spray and wipe with a wheelchair, how would you do that? Yeah, it would take you all day. So very fast. The challenge is, because they have, some of them have 10-minute contact times, and the product's only coming out and misting. Is it getting the surface wet enough? We've actually done studies in my company with one of these units that it doesn't keep the product wet enough for 10 minutes to actually kill anything. You're killing some stuff, but you're not doing disinfection. Probably doing sanitization. So if you need disinfection, might not be the best tool. I don't want to talk negative about them. I sell my system, which I'm about to talk about, to a lot of people that are using them. All I do is give them a tool they can use in other areas for other purposes at much less cost. As you'll see, if I had my little slide up there, I've called this seminar, how to save money, or really what the handout says is how to maximize your disinfection protocol at the lowest cost. So that's really what we're talking about. Let's talk about cost then relative to those units. Those units start, the spray gun, handheld spray gun starts, the lowest price I ever thought. I had one guy say he had a free, I didn't believe. But $500 for one gun. The one on the table over at the Clorox booth, and I encourage you to go over and talk to him. Because I tell you a quick story. I got called out of the school department in Massachusetts 4 or 5 months ago. He had literally was walking out the door while I was walking in and talked to the gentleman he had just talked to. I said to him, I said, John, I see you just had the Clorox guy. Yeah, it's been an interesting system. I said, did he tell you how much that unit costs? He never told them what it costs. I haven't told you either. So I said, John, the reason he didn't tell you what it costs is because you would have kicked it out the door. The lowest price I saw somebody pay for that was $4,500. Closer to $6,000 is usually what I find people are paying for that unit on this table. Now, a hospital, because of the risks and costs that are associated when they have an outbreak, that's a pretty good investment because one patient getting sick costs that hospital $6,000. Right? School department, I haven't seen it. I only saw one school department buy that. So we're talking very, very expensive pieces of equipment. Right? And that's why I was surprised here when I asked the question. We have schools, we got long-term care, we got hospitals, we got colleges, that nobody has even bought one of the Victory sprayers. Now, the interesting thing about the Victory sprayers is the handheld gun is I go, when I talk to a guy, I said, how many do you have? He goes, I got one. He says, how many schools do you have? I got 6. He's doing a half-assed job. and so he said, well, I can't afford to buy one for everything. So that's the challenge in the cost. The chemicals vary. I've seen a big spectrum and they do a lot of different things. But the other negative to those units is that's all you can use those units for. Is disinfecting. Okay, that's what the purpose is, but you've got a lot of different needs. All right. So, segue to mining. We introduced this on the market last fall at the ISSA. John, what's it look like to you?
It's like a pump spray.
Pump sprayer. Very good, buddy. All right. Here's what the difference is about the pump sprayer. It's made in Germany. I don't know why I tell you that, and the fact that this thing is pretty solid. I'm going to pass the handle around because I want to let everybody see how heavy that is. By the way, I started using that this morning at the show. I hadn't repressurized it in 2 weeks. That's how the pressure stayed up. I repressurized it about an hour ago, but it was sprayed perfectly after 2 weeks of not being pressurized. All right, so 3 gallons of product. The product that goes in it is a product called Spray and Go. It has everybody here is going to leave with a brochure. 2-minute or less contact time. What did I say most other disinfectants are? 10, right? The spray nozzle sprays out in a mist pattern. Right? So we're not getting, in fact, the big training I have to do nowadays is tell them not to use, they tend to use too much. This product literally was designed initially by a gentleman a few years ago to disinfect wrestling mats. Big challenge. This guy, he was an old high school and college wrestler. He knew that was a challenge, and more of a challenge today as the kids are getting sicker and carrying more stuff around. So he ends up designing a system to disinfect wrestling mats. Athletic areas is probably, in schools, is probably one of the bigger applications for the unit. The spray nozzle. What's the cool thing about a pump sprayer, John? Where else would you use a pump sprayer in your operation?
Spraying Roundup.
Spraying Roundup, yeah. A pesticide product, an herbicide product. So yeah, you've got that application. One of the ones, because we're talking custodial applications, a lot of people have used this product for actually pre-spraying carpets. Now, you guys in schools are going to do a lot of carpets this time of year, all right? Pre-spray the carpet real quick. It comes with 2 spray nozzles. Obviously, if you're going to pre-spray a carpet, you don't want to miss it. You want to get it wet. So we have another spray nozzle you put on, which increases the flow, all right? And it's like really no tools required. You just put it on, all right? So that, I had one guy who's actually pre-spraying a liquid ice melt on his walkways near the entranceways. I mean, so there's a lot of different things you can do for this. So that makes it more valuable, right? How much is this unit? What's that? Oh, what do you think it is? What's that? No, 190 bucks. All right, 190 bucks. So $190. Now I want to go back to the chemical because the chemical is real important. Everything, some of you may have been by my booth today in the AirX brand. This is made under the AirX brand. The chemical that you're getting with this unit, and we recommend you use with it, although it's not proprietary, you can put any chemical in there you want. 2-minute contact time. It's a slightly in the alkaline side of the pH scale, so it is a really good cleaner, right? Although I don't promote it as a cleaner. If you know when you're disinfecting, step number 1, if there's any gross soil there, you have to clean that up first before the disinfecting action can take place. So if you are, if it's a smelly situation, it's got aeroside in it, so it actually will deodorize too. Cleaner, deodorize, and kill germs you can't see. So that's the cool thing about the chemical. But you load it up with 3 gallons, because it's a ready-to-use product, you can leave it in there. It's got a 1-year shelf life, right? And we now have a handheld version. So I have places that maybe use this product, this tank in the athletic areas where they're doing large areas, matting and floors like this, or use this for going down a hallway and spraying. It uses the same misting spray nozzle that's on the end of that one. Although you can't switch it out and put it to another one. And just spray all those doorknobs. Pretty simple. People ask me, what are the negatives to this? Can anybody come up with a negative? I mean, I can tell you, because I've been got them in the market now for about 8 months or so, people using them. What are some of the other issues? The biggest one I've had is, Jack, on that stainless steel, it's leaving a little film. Okay, I'm sorry, wipe it off. I mean, that's the only negative. I have schools, I was telling this to somebody in my booth earlier, that had bought one of these, like back in November, they wanted to try it out. They're putting 5 to 10 in their budget for the coming year because it works so well. They're gonna expand the application into the rest of their buildings. So it's worked, it does a great job, and it's significantly cheaper than any of the other options, and simply because you're getting some of the labor savings you are with the electrostatic sprayers at significantly less cost. And I challenge, unless you have the need where you're going to be spraying down wheelchairs and hospital beds where it's important to maybe get into every nook and cranny, which the electrostatic sprayers do, this is a much better option for you. It's surely less money. So, all right. Any questions? Did you learn anything? Our product is called AirX Spray and Go. You have a brochure on it, I'm going to hand out in a second. But you can put anything in there, all right? So, but I always recommend, if you're going to use this particular tank, that you stay with a ready-to-use chemical, because you get a long. If you would put a quaternary 2 ounce per gallon standard hospital grade disinfectant in there, you'd have to use it up by the end of the day, then throw it away. You're wasting water, you're wasting chemical, why do that? So, all right. Thanks, guys.